Record. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Whole You podcast. I'm so excited for this conversation today. I am here with my friend Christian. We're going to be diving into our own journeys and stories when it comes to anxiety, navigating anxiety, just our own personal identity and how that's shifted over the course of time through our own self-discovery journeys and just diving deep into who we are as individuals and then also helping others with that too. So I'm super excited. You want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Maya. I appreciate you for having me on your podcast. It truly means so much to me just because I always want to do my best and help people overcome anxiety because I know it truly is it's difficult to feel like you can't do anything. So I appreciate the opportunity to come on to your podcast and hopefully help people learn a different way of life and learn a different perspective. And that's really my background is for a long time, I couldn't do anything. I had to sleep in my parents' room till my sophomore year of high school. I had to go to the bathroom everywhere I went. I thought people hated me. I don't wish that upon anybody. And so I'm just grateful to be in the position where I'm at now, where I feel the best I've ever felt before, and things are literally the complete opposite. And for that, I just want to do my best and help people live the same life that I'm living because it truly is. It's magical when you can tap into the magic of life. So thank you, Maya.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And I'm
Of course.
excited to just dive deeper. And I know already we've had some really good conversations. We have so many just
Yeah,
parallels in our journeys and
definitely.
stories. And yeah, I know that when you're going through anything in life and you're just like really in the midst of it, it can really feel like you're alone and nobody else is going through similar. But
Of
then
course.
you just being open and vulnerable and sharing your story, and you never know how that alone is going to impact somebody else. But then also, you're able to recognize through that interaction and you sharing your experiences, what you're currently going
Yeah.
through, what you have been through, that you're not alone. Because a lot of the
Mhm.
times when you share, it gives other people permission to share. And that's what's so beautiful about being human is we're
Yeah,
storytellers and we share and we express
exactly.
and like we almost, like I was saying, give each other permission to do so through our own expression. So I know for me, like, I really felt alone through a lot of my journey. I felt like I was the only person going through this. And it was like I was so
Hmm.
alone. I would isolate myself because I thought I was weird. Like nobody else got me, nobody
Yeah,
understood me. And
yeah,
now all of the things I've been through up to this point are literally my superpower and have
literally
brought
though.
me, yeah, brought me together through community and sharing and storytelling because I really believe that vulnerability and like sharing stories are how we come together, how we
Hmm.
strengthen humanity even,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Recognizing we're not alone and we're in this together through, the light and the dark and all the things we've been through. Just us sharing our story and not being afraid to do so is
Yeah.
so powerful, you
It
know?
is so powerful, and that like the commonality between our stories, not just you and I, yours and I's story, but like everyone. That's how we find difference between each other, and through the difference is what actually brings the similarity that we're looking for. So
Yeah.
it makes me laugh when people they genuinely think that they don't have the same story as someone else. It's
Mhm.
like, yes, your story is unique, but it's the same story at the end of the day. So why are we? It's like we're hoarding this story around like the victim mindset and things not working in our favor and all of this stuff that's just simply not true. And you don't tell that to anybody because you think that you're the only one going through this. But if you literally just ask the person to your left or right, it's like they're going through the same thing as you. It's like
Yep.
if you really are trying to find a way to overcome your situation, it's most definitely, I can promise you this, it's most definitely not by staying a recluse. It's like you will never find what you're looking for if you are putting yourself in your room or just a place of isolation that's rooted in scarcity or fears. Like you will never find the things that you're looking for because you're closing yourself off from the thing that you need, which is people. It's like
Yeah.
we are a unified organism at the end of the day, and the way we find we're not even fine, but the way we alchemize our situation is through the reflection of other people. because
Yeah.
that's simply ourselves at
Yeah.
the end of the day. So it's like I challenge you to whoever's watching this, like I challenge you to seek someone else and share your story because I promise like you will find something in that person and maybe a new friend, maybe the answer that you're looking for. It's just like you never know what you're looking for and or you never know what you're gonna find if you don't look in the first place.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
100%. Like everything is truly a mirror, you know? And if we're not
Yeah.
putting ourselves out there, like you said, through fear, because a lot of the time, I know that was the case for me, especially, was um, isolating out of the fear of being seen, the fear of being
Yeah.
seen in my wholeness, like the whole me. And that's what my podcast is called for that reason.
Mm.
Encouraging others to be the full spectrum of themselves. And with that, I
Mm.
lived most of my life not being the whole me. I
Okay.
was isolated. I had tons of masks on when I wasn't isolated because I was so afraid of being seen for me because I believed that who I
What were
was
you
enough.
what it was
And
I was gonna ask what were you afraid of being seen for?
yeah, I think just because I had all of these deep rooted beliefs that who I was wasn't enough, wasn't
Hmm.
worthy, and I needed to change everything about me because I was bullied at a very young age, very, very heavily, to the point where all of that became my identity. That I was ugly, that I was fat, that I was like annoying, that I was loud, that I spoke too much, that all
Mm.
these things that were thrown, kind of just absorbed. I absorbed it and it became who I was at the time, became my identity. So I started to question, okay, so I guess I'm not enough. What do I need to do
Mm.
to change in order to be enough? And I learned and I tried to change who I was and put on these masks. Then I realized that wouldn't work either. So then I just went to isolation and was like, well, this is easier to just not be seen at all because then I can't be
uh,
judged
yeah. So no
and
one
then
can
I
see
can't
me.
be shamed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I isolated. And it's that's actually something that now I'm navigating in my own journey because for so long I felt so alone that now that I'm single for the first time in my life, um,
Wait, really quickly, because that I won't go into the conversation, but what do you mean it's the first time you've been single for the first time in your life?
so this was also another layer to this whole thing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. I in order to feel that sense of like enoughness or
Hmm.
wholeness, I would search for it in
Someone
men.
else.
I would
Okay.
try and find that validation and seek it constantly through men in order to
Yep.
feel whole. Because I felt so empty inside and so much lack that I would do
Hmm.
anything outside of me to fill the void.
Yeah.
So since I was 12 or 13, I was like a serial monogamous, just boyfriend, boyfriend, boyfriend.
I've
Yeah.
never heard that before. That's so funny.
Yeah, boyfriend to
Uh,
boyfriend, like back to back.
that
Um,
is, I see that a lot, and that like I don't say that to like bash you because now you understand what solitude truly is and the power of solitude. But it's
yeah,
like I see a lot of people trying to find themselves through other people, which is just another external or an external substance, as I call it. It's like you will never find what you're looking for outside of yourself. So like,
yeah.
let's go within and see what you can find within first before we start searching outside of ourselves. Just because
Mhm.
I think it's part of like American culture. You know,
Yeah,
unfortunately at this point it's like distraction or form of pleasure or a form of stimulus to kind of like distract ourselves from the pain that we're pushing away when if we were to tap into that pain we would realize like that it's actually the pleasure that we've been looking for this entire time. So it's just interesting to like to hear the commonality between you and myself in this conversation because it's unfortunately it's all over the place, which is it just makes me a little sad.
yeah, 100%. I mean, look at our society.
Yeah.
Everything is pushed to drink this in order to feel this, take
Mhm.
this in order to feel this, do this in
Mhm.
order to feel this, eat this in order to feel this.
Right.
And, it's all externally driven, right? And so,
Mhm.
and yeah, like find the one, like all of these, fairy tale. I love me some Disney, right? I love me
Yeah,
some
of course.
Disney, of course.
It makes your heart feel a special way.
Yeah, right? And at the same time, from a
Yeah.
young age, even a kid, all of these children's movies are always about like finding the one. You're gonna find your Prince Charming who's gonna save you and make you feel whole and make you feel so special.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's that just belief in itself that somebody else can make you feel whole
Yeah,
was really
it's oof,
deeply, yeah, that was
crazy.
deeply ingrained in me. And
Mm.
I now
Mhm.
navigating being single after always being in a relationship has been very interesting, and it's led me to uncovering, yeah, some
So
deeper
proud, so
layers of
proud.
who I am,
Yeah.
'cause it was such a big part of my identity for so long. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I searched
I
for
could
that external validation in so many ways to like fill that void of just
yeah.
never feeling enough. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Do you think that, like, was there a common pattern in your relationships where you would come to these moments and you're like, "Okay, I've been here before. I know that this guy is not the answer." It's like was there kind of like a sense that like, okay, I know I need to go within myself, or you didn't know what it was, but you kind of felt this pull or this tug to just you knew something was there, but you just didn't know what it was. Is that accurate to the kind of how you felt during those times?
Totally, 100%,
Mm,
because, the same patterns in me questioning too whether the man actually accepted me and loved me. In
mm,
the relationship itself, I never felt secure because I
wow.
wasn't secure in myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't accept myself. So there was
Right.
always this like questioning, like, oh, do you
Mhm,
actually love me? Do you actually accept me? Like constantly needing that reassurance and validation and becoming
mhm.
codependent. And in the last year, because I
So powerful.
recently got out of this relationship about 2
Right.
months ago. And in the last year, I recognized all these patterns and was still in this relationship. And I tried
Mhm,
to just like hold on, even though I knew a year and a half ago that I needed to let go for this reason. I
mhm,
tried to hold on and heal, these deep rooted wounds while in a relationship. And I held on for and I don't know if I want to share too many details on here
no,
quite yet,
yeah.
but I just didn't
I
hold
love
on
it
for the
too.
right reasons. I didn't hold on out of love. I held on out of fear of hurting him as well.
Mm, that's tough. That's
Because
really, really tough.
yeah, because when
Not
you've been
easy.
hurt, it's like you also want to protect others from going through that
Mhm,
exact same thing. So yeah, I knew that I needed to experience being alone. I knew that I needed to experience being single and actually discovering who I am without a partner, right?
mhm,
Because that was such a big part of my identity and just feeling like me, quote unquote. It's like, so to let go of that identity and recognize that I'm whole on my own,
mhm.
this, realization happened during my relationship while I was still in it. But there was still there was a cushion there. There was a cushion there of going deeper. I couldn't go deeper on myself and fully love myself to the depths that I wanted to and knew I
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
because there was a cushion. It was like, well, I don't have to go deeper with myself because like I have
I
him.
have it right here.
Like he can give that to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah,
Oh,
it was a
mm,
really scary and tough decision for like the both of us. It was hard for me to
mhm.
make that decision for me, but
I
also
believe
because
it.
I knew, yeah, it would
I mean,
hurt
that's
him
like
as well.
it's such a tricky thing because like when you really love somebody, it's like the perception you hold is like, oh, I need to stay with him in order for him to know that I love him.
Yeah.
But love is not defined by a relationship. So it's the biggest form of love is letting go of that person
Yeah.
because A, you're moving on because you're a brand new bitch, if I might say, because you're a whole new person at this point. But you have to
Yeah,
let him grow so he can grow into his new version of himself, which is such a
exactly.
challenge. And like I come from a completely different background from where you're at because I've been celibate for over 2.5 years now. Where
Oh,
I like
wow.
the complete opposite, yeah. So like
Wow.
in terms of the anxiety part of this is it's like I have learned through celibacy, it's like being committed to yourself, truly
Mm.
committed to yourself in the midst of a hedonistic society, to say the least. It is like such a I always gave myself such a hard time back then because the classic way of society is, especially for a guy, is like, how many bodies you got? Like
Mm.
I don't have
Yeah.
that many bodies, man. But I know I'm a man. I know I'm a gentleman because I don't do these things. But in their minds, it's like a
Mm.
gentleman is how many bodies you got. And if you have a high body count, then that means you're a dude, like you've made it. But in my mind, it's like you are all struggling with every single partner that you have. It's like you don't even
Yeah.
know the person that you're dating. You think you
Yeah.
know the person, but you guys are just covering yourselves in sex and boring conversations that don't actually touch your soul. It's like you're running away from the version of yourself that
Mm.
you're trying to be, which is only found through solitude. So
Yeah.
yeah, for a long time, I really was hard on myself for the decision to remain celibate, but now it's like the complete opposite, where I am so like profoundly grateful for that decision because
Wow.
it truly has taught me like I am the first cause. I am the only thing that truly matters in my life. Like if I truly want love, like true love with the family dynamic and whatnot, then it will only come if I love myself first. And
Exactly. Yeah.
I would only receive that if I prove to myself that I love myself, which
Mm.
thankfully that's been the case for me, where it's through the past 2.5 years of having opportunities to be with other people and choosing not to be, it's been very, 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 very beneficial. So I say to like, also just encourage you because I know like speaking to other people who have been in your situation, it is hard. Like it's
Yeah.
not easy to just be by yourself at all.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
there's one person I was working for. She was married for 35 years, and her husband and her just split up for the first time. So it's like 35 years this girl was married to somebody, and then after 35 years they split up, and now she's all by herself. It's like she doesn't know who she is at this point because she spent her entire life
Mm.
with the perspective of I need to form to this man for me and him to be happy rather than being in the relationship for herself first.
Exactly.
So it's like you can see it in younger people and older people where they're always like in a relationship to create that connection that they're looking for when it's just not it, unfortunately. It's been
Exactly.
hard. I'll say it's not been easy,
Yeah,
but
well, I'm proud of you. That's like
thank you.
huge. That is so
Yeah.
huge and amazing that, you have the courage to go that deep in yourself because
Hmm.
that in itself that was what was so scary for me was having the courage and the um there was so much fear around seeing myself. Like I was saying
Hmm.
before, I was so afraid of being seen. And even in my relationships, that was a pattern too. I wouldn't fully allow my partner to see me.
Mm.
And
That's tough.
yeah, because I wasn't
That's tough.
allowing myself to be fully seen, because when we go
Yeah.
through these experiences that affect us emotionally, right? We create all these beliefs about ourselves. We start to believe those beliefs, they start to become more hardwired, and then we start to act out in accordance to that, right? So I had these beliefs that I wasn't enough, I wasn't worthy, I wasn't deserving, I wasn't capable, right? And I started to treat myself as such subconsciously, right?
Yeah.
So I just started to act out in accordance to all of these beliefs without even
Mhm.
recognizing it. I wasn't allowing myself to just sit with myself because I didn't feel deserving of my time. I wasn't
Yeah.
allowing myself to actually show up for myself because I wasn't feeling deserving of my energy.
Mm.
I wasn't allowing myself to love myself because I didn't feel lovable. I didn't feel
Mhm.
enough. I didn't feel worthy of the love, right? There was so much
Yeah.
fear wrapped around all of this to where the courage to being alone just like even though I was isolating myself from friends and connection and community, it was like the partnership was the only place that felt safe, because it
Mm,
was the only place that I actually felt love, even though the
yeah,
love was surface level. And I wasn't
yeah.
actually allowing it in because I wasn't loving myself, like you said.
Well,
Um,
this is the
so
crazy thing. Like the love that you felt though is still so profound, but like it wasn't the full extent of love. So
mhm.
imagine, dude, like imagine the love now. Like you
Yeah.
know the love now. So if you're listening to this and you're in a relationship like that where it's surface level and you still feel like a profound sense of connection, I just imagine what true love feels like because
Mm.
it is you can't put it into words. Like
Yeah.
it's not something that words can describe. So just know that there is something more grand and more magical and more powerful than you could ever imagine outside of the surface level relationship or the surface level job or the surface level whatever it is. It's like there is an aspect to life that truly is well, it's comprehensible to the higher mind, but the physical mind just can't comprehend it because
Amen.
it's like out of worldly. It's
There's
like it's
depth.
not it's just there's such a depth to it. Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
you yeah, maybe you have more words around that because that's kind of where you're at right now.
Yeah, yeah. Again, finding this love from within for myself and this acceptance from within for myself, this just true abundance, like literally falling in
Mhm.
love with myself straight up.
Yeah.
Which again, there's
Yeah,
like
it's so
this
good.
depth. Yeah, it's like this last year has been all about that. Like just
Mhm.
depth and falling in love with myself and experiencing that to its depths. But then what I realized was, again, like I was saying earlier, that cushion was preventing me from going even deeper. And it was that
Mm.
relationship, even though it was like I was doing all this work on myself and I felt the most love that like, it's hard to put into words because
You
it's like
can't.
it shifts everything, the way you
Yeah.
love, the way you receive love, the way you give love, the way you experience life, because everything is love. You're coming back to the natural essence of life
Hmm.
itself. So when you experience that from within
Mm.
and it's
You can
just
feel
this
it right now.
infinite depth. Yeah, I'm like literally losing words like talking about it. I'm starting to
Yeah.
feel it. But
Yeah.
there's this depth there that is infinite,
Yeah.
right? These infinite depths. And when you do come into a divine union, right? A divine partnership that you
Mhm.
know is like, this is your divine union,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, I have yet to experience that, but I've had this divine union come into fruition within myself, between my own masculine and feminine energies within
Mhm.
me, and healing these deeper wounded parts of me that just all along wanted to be seen and accepted and loved by me. It wasn't
Yeah.
about these bullies and about these guys and about this, everything outside of me. It was never about that. And that's what
Mhm.
the realization I had to come to was it never had anything to do with anything on the surface. It had everything to do
Yeah.
with the
It's
depth
never the external.
within.
Ever.
Yeah.
It is never the external. So then I'm curious to know, like, because a lot of this is like I keep going back to our child self, like when
Mhm.
in our first moments of anxiety sprouted. Because for me, it's like a lot of the things you're describing came from there's like a lack of my parents being there for me when I was younger, and then my situation is a bit unique just because we adopted three kids from Africa, so that was such a completely different dynamic for most people. So like I realized in hindsight a lot of the anxiety and the lack of love that I was trying to receive from other people out in my external world was based in not feeling loved when I was younger from my adopted siblings and my parents. So the
Mm.
only way I was really truly able to overcome the anxiety was leveraging the imagination that we have, and being able to go back in time and actually be able to heal that child version of myself
Yeah,
and make sure
exactly.
that this kid, like, hey, like you unfortunately are so pure that you misread things because you're innocent. It's like you don't. You
Yeah.
don't think people are trying to play games. You don't think people have poor intentions. You don't think people have trauma. So you just
Mm,
take things as face value, but that's
personally.
unfortunately not the truth. So you have to be willing to like go back to that child version of yourself and be like, hey, it's okay. Like you got it
Yeah.
wrong. It's okay. I'm here to let you know that this is how it went and that I'm okay now. Thank you for
Yeah.
serving me in what I needed from you, but it's time to go back to where you're supposed to be in my memory, not alerting me that something is wrong. So maybe
Mhm.
you have something to say in terms of that, just because
Yeah.
that's been very present in my life lately.
Mhm.
Just overcoming certain things, moving into a new timeline lately. It's like a lot of healing has been happening to my younger self of
Yeah.
so many limiting beliefs, so many misconceptions about what I thought reality was,
Yeah.
and so much misperceived love that I didn't think I received when I actually did receive it. I was
Mhm.
just so again, I was just so innocent that I didn't think people had filters, but everyone has filters, unfortunately. But we're that's the thing about being children is like we have no filters because we literally just came from source. So it's like we have no filters.
Yeah.
But as we grow older, then we put on all these filters, and then because we have no filter, we just take everything as it is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
maybe you have some words about that.
Yeah. It's actually really, yeah, crazy you bring that up because on Friday, actually,
Mm-hmm.
and in general, just the
Mm-hmm.
last several months have been really, um, a lot of conversations with my younger self, a lot of like going
Mm-hmm.
back in time, kind of that quantum healing of
Yeah.
going back in time and letting my younger self know, like, hey, you're safe. You're
Mm-hmm.
safe here with me. Like, there's nothing to fear. And, understanding your protection mechanisms is so important,
Yeah.
understanding and building awareness around like the fact that your mind is just trying to keep you safe, right? It's always
Mm-hmm.
just trying to keep you safe. And we put up all of these walls and protection mechanisms throughout our life. Like you're saying, this filters too. It's like kind of
Yeah.
the same thing. Like it's just going through this filter so that we are protected. And
Mm-hmm.
also, yeah, on Friday was also the full moon, and it was pretty intense.
Crazy.
This moon was pretty
Yeah.
intense. I literally had a 2-hour conversation in the mirror with myself, and I was on no psychedelics. I was, like,
Let's go.
completely sober, like, just
You don't need drugs anymore once you get to the higher vibration. It's like there's no need for drugs.
yeah, and it was straight up, like it felt like a psychedelic experience because I was
Hmm.
talking to myself in the mirror and so because when I speak to people, I love conversations. And I mean, you've experienced conversations with me. We can
Yeah,
just talk for hours and hours and hours, right?
yeah, yeah.
And I love that. And it was
Me
like
too.
I did that with me for the first time, completely sober on Friday. And it
Profound.
literally just like my face started to morph in the mirror to my younger self. And I
Wow.
was having these conversations with my younger self and letting her know because, like I said, me leaving this relationship and deciding to fully be alone for the first time in my life
Hmm.
has been really scary for her. It's been really scary for my younger self
Yeah.
because she felt so alone for most of her
Mm.
life that that feeling of aloneness and to let go of the one thing that helped her not feel alone,
Yeah.
which alone, that word, I've had to like reprogram and start to shift the narrative
Yeah.
around what being
Yeah.
alone in solitude, like you were saying, actually means. Because there's a difference between being lonely and
Mhm.
being in solitude. And
It's
like
such a big difference.
actually
It is such a big difference. So
yeah.
big.
It's
Yeah.
essential to be in solitude, right? And so
Hmm.
being in solitude and having this deep conversation with myself literally like 2 nights ago was life-changing. Absolutely life-changing. And yeah, it just goes to show because after this, it just felt like this piece of me that was reacting to all of these things and like the situation that I'm currently going through. It was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, wait, we're good." we're
Yeah.
safe now. This is actually exciting. And we're able to tap into these higher vibration emotions
Wow.
because we've transmuted these lower vibration
Mhm.
emotions that were attached to this past memory,
Right.
right? And the
Yeah.
past memory was being triggered over and over again.
Mhm.
And we can just keep reliving it over and over again. And our nervous system starts to freak out. And then we start to react in all these ways. And sometimes we just
Yeah,
run
and
from
then
it and
the
from it.
imagination just keeps recreating it. That's the thing is, like,
Yeah.
our imagination's, like, I don't know if you notice it, but, like, I'm sure you do, but, like, we replay things over and over and
Yeah.
over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then we think, like, "Why is this happening?" Dude, you just replayed that thing over and over and over for 3 days straight. Of course, it's gonna recreate
Yeah.
in the present moment because you literally just focused on it for 3 days straight. So
Hmm.
it's just, like, that's one thing I always like to add to really this conversation is, like, the imagination is so potent,
Hmm.
especially when there's energy backed up by your imaginal acts. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to replay something over and over and over with a profound sense of energy attached to it, like, you're going to experience it again,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And our subconscious doesn't know the difference. Like our unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between our imagination and our reality either.
Right.
So us creating this scenario over and over again, it literally, physically, our
I
body, our
think it's
nervous
real.
system is feeling like we
Yeah,
are experiencing it technically, like
literally.
physically, and
Mhm.
it takes a toll. It takes a really big toll, and that's why healing somatically and healing trauma is so essential. It's
Mhm.
essential because otherwise these things, these patterns just get so deeply ingrained and just you keep reliving these things over and over again. And this is why I believe there's so much illness and mental illness
Mm.
and all of these things in the world
Yeah, me
because
too.
there's so much unhealed trauma and so many
Mm.
wounded hearts and souls and just humans,
Yeah.
and that's why we're here, right? To
Yeah,
guide people to
absolutely.
yeah.
That's always, like, my intention with conversations like this and podcasts and content and coaching is just to do my best to help people free themselves from second cause substances.
Yeah.
Just like when you really I understand the whole concept of manifestation for some people is difficult and it seems
Mhm.
far fetched, and then they're right, it is just because of so much, like, people who don't understand it will talk about it as if they do understand it and
Mhm.
they really have no consensus of it, but there truly is something to it. And when you remove second cause substances and you remove all the external things that you think are controlling your life, like,
Mhm.
that's when things truly change in your life. Like, I feel like right now is such a perfect example for me because I uprooted my life in less than 16 days, or I'm going to Spain for I don't know how long. I might be going to Bali afterwards.
Wow.
I am in the position where my content is starting to pick up attraction now. And with that will come clients and selling my digital product. And then from that too, it's like I realize that I will be doing retreats as I travel. So I'm really, really excited for that. So, like, that will also help me travel throughout the world. And all of this, I'm saying, it comes from removing what if, because what if implies second cause substance. If you remove what if and you align yourself with this is like this will be what I'm going to experience, then the things you want to happen will happen. I like you cannot make this situation up in my life. Like, this all started from a single comment on a comment that I had made. That then someone commented on my comment, and then from there we just started talking, and it turns out we're literally identical in so many ways. And because of that single comment, it led to me now going to Spain to meet that person, to meet another person, and then learning how to just become a better content creator, a better storyteller. And this only would have happened, or this only happened because I removed the what if. Because anytime you start asking yourself, what if I need this person? What if I need this thing? What if I need that in my life? Then you forfeit your ability to truly be in control, which I understand it's nuanced. It's nuanced, but it's like that's when you really have the ability to start living the the perfect picture of life on Instagram that everyone sees, which is not, I'm not saying that we should be striving for that, but I know we want to experience it because we have that innate desire inside of our souls for a reason. It's like we are meant to watch this stuff and then go fulfill it. We're not meant to watch this stuff, whether it's people healing from relationships or whether it's people traveling or whether it's healing stuff from family. It's like if we watch this stuff, we are getting this feeling, this urge to experience it ourselves for a reason. It's not to wish that we could have this. It's meant to literally be like we are going to experience this. And this only happens from what I've come to realize, like you have to remove any second cause substance in your life. If you don't remove it, then the cycle perpetuates. And it's a challenge just because I understand, like, especially with this podcast being primarily around anxiety, it's like I never ever in my there's it's just not fathomable. Like there's just no way that I would be in this position during my peak anxious years. Like to think that I'm about to go to Spain with no flight booked back yet, never meeting this person, it's like no way. Like I would have thought I was crazy. I would have thought I was a lunatic. I would have thought I was delusional. I would have thought so many bad things were going to happen, but that was all based in scarcity and fear and second cause substances because what if? it's always it's always what if. So I just encourage everyone who's listening to just remove the what if because if you want to experience a life of no anxiety, it only comes from remembering your authentic power that you are the first cause substance to everything that you're experiencing. And I understand it's hard, but as you push through the veil, so to speak, and you do the work and you self inquiry and you self actualize, then you start to realize, okay, this is, I am the one causing this because I reacted this way. I made that decision. I chose to do this. I chose not to do this. And because of all these things, all these different things happening in my life, it's forming into this present moment where I'm experiencing this, which it takes time. Like it's not something that I wish people, myself included, could just magically snap my fingers and things be perfect. But I guess that would take the joy out of the process. You know, it's like we kind of need that process to enjoy the ride, so to speak. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. I think overall, yeah, like you said, that is the root of anxiety. And I think that mistrust, right? It's all rooted in this mistrust in
Hmm.
ourself and life itself, right? We're constantly on edge and in that fight or flight mode rather than creator mode. Because when we're in creator
Mm,
mode, we just
I like that.
trust and we're
Yeah.
able to create our life rather than just
Hmm.
feel like life is happening to us. So I have to be on edge because what's going to happen to me next and being in that victim mentality rather than the victor mentality.
Victory, let's go.
You know? And
Hmm.
yeah, like stepping out and starting to heal. It's why, again, kind of it's all interconnected. You healing your trauma and recognizing like where this even comes from, right? So that you can go
Yeah.
back in time and heal these pieces of you. Because, like you were saying earlier, when we have these thoughts, when we have these what if thoughts, when we have these fears, when we have these doubts, when we have these limiting beliefs, it's literally our younger self just tapping on our shoulder, being like, is this
Are
gonna
you kidding?
happen? Is this gonna
Yeah.
happen again? Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Like,
like
are
our
you kidding
scared
me?
self. Yeah, it's our younger, scared, worried self just
Yeah.
tapping on our shoulder, trying to get our attention, trying to get our love. And that's how I like to view
Hmm.
it now is like, what piece of me needs to be nurtured right now? It can be your compass, right? I think we were
Hmm.
talking about this earlier, but yeah, it's like seeing these things as blessings and like lessons rather than something to like run from or whatever, because it's
Hmm.
honestly a compass, right, for where you need to go next, what you need to face, right? When you feel triggered, when you feel fear, when you feel any emotion, really, it can be your compass as to like what you need to face and what you need to heal, right? Like where
Yeah.
you need to go
Yeah.
next. And yeah, I think that alone, but then also just becoming aware, because when we have these what if thoughts and we have these anxiety spirals, they're so just familiar to us and known that we don't even recognize we're like in it, you know, and we just follow it. It's like,
That's
okay,
crazy.
cool. Yep. I'm going to go isolate myself and I'm not going to listen to anything my heart is telling me to do
Yeah,
because
because
all of these
this is
reasons,
normal.
right? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
our normal. And, so for us to become conscious of the unconscious and start to recognize, okay, wait a second, this isn't serving me. Like me actually believing that anything's possible and like what's most beneficial, right? Like you
Hmm.
can choose again, you can choose the next best thought again. You having
Yeah.
a thought doesn't mean you have to identify with it and be like, okay, I guess this is my reality. Guess, this thought has to be true, right? It's like,
Yeah, it's like I always say there's no contract saying
yeah.
you have to assume these things, to feel these things, or think these things. It's like there is no contract saying you have to uphold to the same history or the same present moment. Like there is no contract saying you owe anything to what you have done in your past or what you think you've done in your past.
Exactly. Like that's what's so cool about life too. Is like we were saying, we are the co-creators, right? We're
Hmm.
co-creating with life itself, with God, right? Like the creator of existence. Like we are literally just an extension. We're
Hmm.
co-creating and we're always supported. And us leaning into that faith, into that trust, into ourself, it unlocks this ability to know that life is always happening for you, even when these hurdles come up, right? It's happening
Yeah.
for you in the sense that it's making you stronger, it's teaching you something, it's helping you grow, right? That way, if anything happens, you always know it's happening for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're able to truly step into that creator mode rather than just like reacting and being in fight or flight mode constantly of like, what if, oh my gosh,
Right.
like, no, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
What if your dreams and everything you were desiring came true? What if the best case scenario happened? You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Like
Yeah.
starting to shift your perspective from like what if worst case scenario to what if best case scenario is
Yeah.
also, and starting to visualize. I truly believe that's kind of the root too of manifestation, is starting to believe. I know we were talking about this earlier, starting to believe
Yeah.
that that's possible, right? And having this knowing that that's a possibility and having the energetic, signature for that, right? And in order to do that, we have to have this knowing and this, match for what we desire. We have to be open to it and actually believe it's possible for us actually to receive it. Whereas if
Yeah.
we're in this fight or flight mode, if we're in this reactor mode, if we're in this just state of fear, we're going to be repelling these things that we actually desire, right?
Hmm.
Because we're creating all these blocks and protection mechanisms and we're blocking
Right.
ourselves from receiving it.
Right.
And so stepping into that creation mode means opening yourself up to it and knowing that
Hmm.
it's possible for you, and having
Yeah.
that trust in yourself and life.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting too, because like the opposite end of that, like it's like we're remembering the same. Oops, we're remembering the same thing that granted us the negative. It's like
Yeah.
we think that because we're tuning to higher vibrations, something changed. Like nothing changed at all. It's like your negativity was exactly like you got exactly what you put out, which no one wants to have that conversation. It's like
Yeah.
everyone shies away from that conversation because they don't want to realize that they are the first cause substance. Because when you realize you're the first cause substance, it's you, like we were saying before we started this, is the belief. It's like you genuinely believe that the world is shitty. You genuinely believe that bad things happen to you. You
Yeah.
genuinely believe that you're not lucky. You genuinely believe that you're not in the right place at the right time. You genuinely believe that you're not divine perfection. What do
Yeah.
you expect from that?
Yeah.
Like at this point, like it like almost like I understand there has like of course compassion is you cannot create change without compassion. But I
Mhm.
do think we need to be like more stern to some extent where it's like, dude,
Agreed.
you literally have created an entire bubble around suffering and you expect things to get better.
Mm,
It's like you have to go look at yourself in the
mm,
mirror and say like enough is enough. Like
yeah.
I think everything sucks. I feel that everything sucks. So I assume that everything sucks. Then I
Mm.
believe everything sucks. And then my identity sucks.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Obviously, like we make it more complicated, but it really is genuinely that simple. So
Yeah.
then when we come into a different frame of reference where we're experiencing a higher vibrational reality, we think we're remembering the great secret, but we've already been living it this entire time. We're just experiencing a different polarity. And
Yeah.
that's what I think trips people up so much is the fact that when they start to experience good, they don't realize that they've already discovered the secret that they create everything that they create. So then the negative thoughts start looping back into their mind, and then they get dragged right back down.
Yeah.
But if you just come back to the fact that, or the belief that you are the first cause substance, then that's when the magic truly starts to happen because you've swallowed the fattest pill you've ever swallowed, which I always say, which you realize you're responsible for your suffering. Then
Mm.
you get to then you're over that, and then you start to create from the place of a knowingness that I am the reason this is happening, and now that I have choice and free will, I assert that this is going to be my reality. I assert that this is going to be what I'm going to experience
Yeah.
because you love yourself for the first time in your entire life. You
Mm.
actually believe in yourself for the first time in your life. You
Yeah.
believe that you're capable of actually doing the things that you've been thinking about since you're 6 years old. You
Mm.
believe yourself to be strong, powerful, sexy, attractive, confident, whatever it is. Like it's like there's so many different beliefs that we hold for ourselves. But when like suffering from anxiety sucks. Like we both, it is horrible. It's
Yeah.
so it's so hard. Like waking up every single day. Like I would wake up for 3.5 hours. I'd just be on my phone in bed,
Same.
scrolling for no reason,
Yeah.
just no reason. Drinking terrible
Mm.
stuff, eating terrible foods. Like the entire time, I felt miserable, but I just accepted it as my reality. So
Yeah.
it became the normal. But now it's like in hindsight, when I think about that, it's just like that was so much more difficult than what I'm experiencing right now. Because I don't it's like when you believe, it's like there's no need for action. Like there's no need to do things in order to create things because you are the action. Like your
Mhm.
own essence is the action.
Yeah.
Um and I know that's like that might be like super high for some people, but like at some point you will realize that because you believe in yourself, when you truly believe in yourself, then you realize you're the process,
Yep.
you're the reason, you're the first cause substance. And that's just like been in my head these past couple of weeks because of
Mm.
me going to Spain and then making better money and things starting to increase on social media. And it's like everything I said that was going to happen is now happening as it's been happening for the past 3 years. I
Yeah.
didn't want to see it because I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, just so many good things there.
I love that. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that for you. I
thank
totally,
you.
yeah, that's amazing. And I totally relate to like to everything you said. And
Mm,
yeah, I think that we stay blocking these miracles because, like you said, we all desire miracles because life itself is a miracle. We are
mm-hmm.
miracles.
Yeah, of course.
Like literally. So of
What do you
course we're
say?
just yeah,
Yeah.
like life is a miracle itself, right? And you are deserving of everything you desire. You are deserving of the life you want to live. And I truly believe life, God, the universe, whatever you believe is it wants that for you too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
It
life
really does.
itself wants you to thrive. Life itself wants you to have everything you want.
Yeah,
And
or it doesn't, which is based
huh?
on what you get. If it or it doesn't, which is
Or
based
it
on what you give
doesn't.
it.
Yeah, it all comes
Yeah,
down to how you create your reality and your
yeah.
beliefs and your identity, right? Because that's just what you're going to create more of.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're creating currently is just going to keep creating itself. That's the basis of life itself is creation. It's all
Exactly.
just creation creating itself over and over and
Exactly.
over again.
Even if it's wicked, even if it's
Yeah.
evil. That's why
Uh-huh.
evil exists because it's
Yep.
that is reality. That is life experiencing itself through wickedness,
Vessels.
through
Yeah.
corruption, which sucks. But at the end, it's like love will always overcome that because love is what allows the evil to happen. So it's like I
Mhm.
think people really have to come to that realization, like life will always create more of what we're giving it because
Mhm.
life is the entire spectrum. Like it's not just good. Like it is bad. And the sooner you accept that, and the sooner you realize that your lens that you have, if it's bad, I'm sorry, man, but you will continue to get bad. There is no way of going around that. That's just how reality works because reality, it starts from our mind. Consciousness starts from our mind, and then we project it outside of ourselves. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with everything in nature. Consciousness itself doesn't know what we perceive as good or bad. It just creates based on what it wants to experience. And we fortunately are the lens for which creation gets to experience itself. But we have the ability to choose. Other things don't. That's what makes us, our beingness so potent, is
Yeah.
we have the choice and we either
Choice.
choose to become more evil or we choose to become more good. The choice is yours at the end of the day.
This is yours. Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
what do you choose? That is ultimately, and that's what's so cool about it. Like, we could
Hmm.
literally 1 second later, like, I could literally just in this
Right
moment, right
now.
here, I could
Right
change
now.
my whole life around and just
Right
decide.
now. Hmm.
And that was it for me. That was
That
how
was it
I
for me.
shifted, was
Yeah.
making the choice, making the decision that I didn't want to suffer anymore. And that was the
Mm.
moment that
So
everything
good.
shifted because I was like, wait a
Yeah.
second, I don't actually want this anymore.
That's
And
so true.
actually being able to let the suffering go because
Mm.
we would choose though, because what's safe to us
Hmm.
is what's familiar. So we would choose a familiar hell, right?
Even
Over
if
an
you're getting abused.
unfamiliar heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's going to feel uncomfortable to start to choose peace, to start to choose change of any kind, right? But you have to just
Hmm.
push through and recognize it's going to feel uncomfortable. And that's where people get pulled back into that familiar state of being because it's the familiar state of being. We would rather choose that familiar hell. We would rather choose that familiar
Yeah.
suffering
That's
than
so good.
unfamiliar peace, right?
Yeah.
And our desires even. And so a lot of the times too, the reason why people don't actually achieve what they desire or, want like the things that they want don't just flow into their life is because they're literally blocking it because it doesn't feel safe. So they're creating these protection mechanisms because it's so unfamiliar and unknown
Mm-hmm.
that they're literally blocking it in every way. Because, like I was saying before, with the identity, when we have all of these beliefs, it's what creates our identity. And we start to act out in accordance to that. We start emitting that, aligned frequency with those core beliefs in that energetic emotional signature, right? We're just
Yep.
emitting it. And we start to align ourself and our energy with what our identity is. And so that's why it's so important to get down to like what your current beliefs are about yourself, your reality, and
Yeah.
whether or not you actually feel like you're deserving and worthy
Hmm.
and capable of receiving it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Or this is like, uh, oh, sorry, I got a phone call. How
No
rude.
worries.
Um, crap, that made me forget what I was gonna say. That's so annoying. That's so annoying when stuff like that. Maybe it's just like when stuff like that happens, just like maybe it was already received in the conversation. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's annoying now. If you can go back to what you were saying there just for a second.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it's just like that's the basis of too. I know that originally anxiety was like the topic of this conversation.
Yeah.
I was identifying with anxiety itself. I was
Mhm.
identifying with the suffering that anxiety brought me to where I didn't know different. I didn't
Yeah.
know anything else. So
Yeah.
I was just acting in accordance to that and staying in this familiar pattern over and over again because that's what felt safe to me.
Yeah.
Peace didn't feel safe to me. Trusting life didn't feel safe to me. Right.
Mm.
But I had to just constantly start to choose again and choose again and choose again. Every time there was this thought of, like you were saying, the what ifs, the doubts, the
Mm,
fears, it was like I didn't have to identify with that. I could choose again. I could choose the next best thought. What if the
Abraham
best case
Hicks.
scenario happened? What if all of my dreams, what if more than what I
Yeah.
even like want? What if more than what I want
Hmm.
happened, right? Because the
Yeah,
possibilities are endless, and starting
they
to
are endless.
actually believe that, because we would rather also just choose what's known to us than believing what's most beneficial and like
Right.
what's,
The highest good.
actually, yeah, like what's actually going to
Yeah.
serve us and the greater good of all.
Mhm.
And the power of our beliefs and identities and thoughts literally shape our reality. And so us being able to shift that shifts everything. Our
Yeah.
perception literally determines our life,
Yeah.
you know?
And then like to like kind of segue into like examples would be like right now is a perfect example. Like most people, if you have anxiety, like you're more or less like your perception of getting on a podcast, for example, is like, oh, I'm gonna record a podcast, but no one's gonna watch it because who wants to watch this shit? Like it's boring. Like that belief is what's going to create that reality. But in our mind, it's like we're creating a podcast because we know it's going to change lives. And based on that belief, whether it gets 1 view, 10 views, 100 views, it doesn't matter as long as it changes someone's life. Like that is far more important to us. And through that, our content will rise in views and rise in awareness through social media. And the difference between the two is because we believe that we are worthy of being heard versus someone who makes a podcast out of anxieties. They'll do it for the what if, but they don't actually believe that they are worthy of being heard. So then they never experience the results that they're looking for, which was my problem with content for so long was I just didn't think I had a voice to be heard because I was the guy. This was when Andrew Tate was going crazy. So it's like a very masculine, rigid, like destructive kind of masculine narrative was going on. So in my perceptions, like guys are meant to cry because we're human. It's like we need to cry. But in his mind, it's like no, don't cry because it's a sign of weakness, and then all sorts of other stuff. So it's like for me, it's like learning to disregard that stuff and just allow myself to tune into who I truly am and allow myself to speak in my own authenticity rather than being clouded by other external perceptions that are simply not true. And the ironic thing was, it was just my own projection of myself from Andrew rather than it being Andrew, so to speak. It was my own fear. So when I just choose not to listen to that fear and tune back into my own authenticity, it's like that's where the magic really exists, is allowing things to present itself even if you don't think things are going to happen the way you want to. And bringing Andrew into the conversation, it's like I've had so many guys reach out and like they just appreciate the message that I have. So instead of me being fearful and me being anxious when I post stuff about it, it's like now I have the intention that because I'm posting, I know I'm going to reach men who experience issues with their mental health. So that's why I brought that in, because it's like you really like the intention that you have with what you're doing is what's going to create the end result. So you have to be willing to romanticize your life. Like that's kind of the theme that I'm in right now, is like everything I do is an act of prayer. Everything I do is an act of manifestation. Everything I do is for the greater good. And there is no getting in the way of that anymore in my life. Like you cannot get in the way of that anymore. Like it is a done deal. Like this is non-negotiable for me now. Like no matter what happens, no matter how annoying somebody is, like it's immovable. Like you will not get in the way of that romanticization between myself and the actions that I'm taking to bring forth the realities that I want to. So just be willing to romanticize things, even if you don't have the current evidence to support a reason to be motivated or eager for it. Like you have to be the still point for the reason. It's like you are the reason at the end of the day. So allow yourself to be the transmitter, so to speak. Because at the end of the day, we're the beacon of energy. It's like what we produce is what we get back. So if you're going to have poor intentions with what you do throughout your day and you're trying to create change, like you won't create change. But if you have pure intentions and positive intentions that align with success and fulfillment in all of the quote unquote mundane and boring things that you do, it's like you will experience heaven on earth, and those boring and mundane things become so blissful. They become so poetic. They become so enjoyable, and like to for me, like that describes my day job as painting. It's like it's provided me the ability to study for the past 3 years, my own hours, but it's not what I want to do. As great as it's been, in the financial freedom that I've gained from it has allowed me to pursue my own interests and my own studies. It's not what I want to do, but now it's like it doesn't matter that it's not what I want to do. It's like I will make this enjoyable because that's just the art of life. It's like you have to have that mindset in order for things to change. If you don't have that mindset, it's hard to really make things change, because when you feel such, like, anxiety is such a potent energy, because it's chaotic, it is messy, it's dirty, it is big, it is rambunctious, and that causes so much um turbulence, or whatever you want to call it, in the energetic realms, that it really puts you off kilt. So it's learning to overcome that anxiety and align yourself with the potency of love and potential. Is It's more clear, it's more concise, it's more accurate. And when you find that state of being and you put yourself in that in a regular, um, that just becomes your regular state of being. That's when everything changes. That's when heaven comes to earth. That's when the anxiety goes away. That's when the bliss arises. That's when the love arises. That's when the manifestations start to pop up, and serendipitous opportunities coming from a DM on Instagram that you never would have expected to happen. That's when the money starts flowing. That's when the opportunities start coming. Um, and it's like in my back of my mind, I can hear the person who's still anxious right now being like, "No way! Like that's just not possible." It's like you're speaking out of your ass, but it's like you're listening to a podcast with two people who have done things where we were in similar positions as you, and now we're living the life that we both dreamt of living years ago. It's like we are literally living proof. Like anxiety is not the only way of living. Like you will overcome it as long as you choose to romanticize your life and become a still point for change, so to speak. Yeah,
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And
yeah.
tapping back into, again, the creator mode and recognizing that you are making the choice. That
Mm-hmm.
is the hardest thing for people, because we love to play victim. We love to say, no, like my life just sucks. That's just how it is. That's just
Yeah.
the way
Well,
it is. Like when I hear people
man.
say that's just the way my life is, that's just the way things are, I just want to like, oh, come on, no,
Yeah,
like,
you can give a
ugh.
little bit more. I know you can give a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah. And you are making the choice of your suffering,
more.
to
Yeah,
be
you really
honest.
are.
Like just to
I'm
be
sorry. Sorry.
straightforward. It's like you are choosing suffering. And
Mm-hmm.
I think overall, just having that is a hard truth to sit with, because our ego wants to
Yeah.
defend really freaking quick. It's like, let me punch you in the face really fast, And you hear that, but it's like,
Yeah.
you are creating everything that you're attracting. You are creating, because you're putting energy and attention where your attention goes, energy flows, right? So if you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly just putting all of your attention and energy into these things that, quote unquote, are going bad in the world or happening to you or whatever, and it's like all of your energy and attention are going into those things and they're becoming the
Mm-hmm.
focus of your reality, that's just going to continue to expand, and you're just going to create more and more and more of it, right?
Yeah.
And so overall, starting to shift your perspective, like you said, and starting to also notice how you speak about things, because a lot of the times too, and like to how you do things, because it's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, right?
Mm.
Almost always being intentional with what you're doing the dishes and being intentional with it, not, oh, I have to do the fucking dishes, like, oh,
Yeah.
my life sucks,
Yeah.
whatever. It's like, I'm gonna play some music, I'm gonna
Mhm.
dance, I'm gonna romanticize
Yeah.
the heck out of this dishwashing
Uh-huh.
session, you know?
Yeah.
Because why not?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah,
I want
why
clean dishes
not?
too. It's like I want clean dishes.
Yeah, right? It's like if we think too into like the benefits of that thing that we're doing or whatever, it
Mhm.
can help us also like shift our perspective. Just shifting your
Yeah.
perspective is literally the key to everything. Shifting your identity, shifting your perspective, because when you do that, your whole reality shifts.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. We overcomplicate it. We overcomplicate everything, and how just literally that I feel like is the root of suffering, is the
Yeah.
overcomplicating of it all, you know? And when we
Mhm.
simplify and recognize, wait a second, all I need to do is like not think, like I need to start to shift my thoughts and choose again. It's
Yeah.
that simple. Wait, that can't be right. Let me think of a
Man,
more complicated way to
not
like,
I
you
promise
know?
you it's that simple. It's that
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. Overall, I think just starting for the people listening, just starting with your awareness of what your current thoughts are, what your
Mhm.
current perception and beliefs are. That's like the best way to start in any journey, because whether you're
Yeah.
like wanting to start a business, whether you're wanting to, if you're in a fitness journey, whether you're wanting to just heal and become a better, more evolved version of you, whatever the case might
Yeah.
be, all of it takes, like you said, that mindset of trust and belief in yourself. If you don't shift your perspective on, for example, like a fitness journey, if you don't shift your perspective on food and your body and yourself and your capabilities, you are not going to be successful in your
No.
fitness journey, whatever your goals might be. If you're wanting to start a business and you have all of this lack mentality around yourself and a poor relationship with money and
It's not gonna work.
constantly in scarcity, you're not going to be successful in your business. So it all starts with just uncovering, okay, what is my current belief system? What is my current identity? What are my current thought patterns? And that is going to affect everything in your reality
Yeah.
when you start to shift those things, you
Man.
know? And yeah, it all
Yeah.
comes down to just like your perspective and how you're doing things, not what you're doing, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, and I think the other part to that too is like what gives life to those perspectives is like again, this is and part of like the one thing that I'm working on is like because we're both young, it's like who's gonna listen to these young people? It's like
Mm, it's a limiting
I
belief.
understand we are young, but at the same time it's like you can't discredit the things that we know and the patience that we have to listen. It's like at least give us credit for our ability to listen to all ages, all walks of life, all experiences, and we have come to realize that everything that humans experience comes from the same substance of creation, which is God. It is source. It is divine love. It is whatever you want to call it. We are always part of that. That's with us all the time. That's what gives us our personality. So
Mhm.
if you are willing to transcend that and align yourself with that great awareness, the oneness, the source, the first cause substance, you cannot um, you cannot see your life in a different way anymore because you realize as the first cause substance, I will only ever experience anxiety if I focus on the traits of anxiety. It's like
Exactly.
that is
Yeah.
what reality is. That is what awareness is. That is what focus is. That is what concentration is. That is what meditation is. It's
Mhm.
like if you are constantly meditating and concentrating and focusing on anxiety, it's like you will always experience anxiety. You will always be in places to affirm the evidence, the physical evidence that you see, to believe and assume that you have anxiety. But
Mm,
if you remember your great power as a creator, because you are God and God is greater than us, but we are part of God, which is the paradox. It's like you have the ability to create heaven on earth because your awareness is what creates reality. So if you are
exactly.
aware of potential, if you're aware of infinite possibility, if you're aware of of physics, which is the reason why we have physics in the first place, is to give us reason to understand the matrix that we are in. It's like take time to learn physics because physics is now proving all of this stuff that has been talked about for thousands of years. It's like mainstream science is now coming to the consensus that we are in a hologram and that everything is based on our attention. It's like this is literally mainstream news now. So
Yeah.
it's like when you choose to accept that and not disregard it because of your personal bias and move past that, as hard and as challenging as that is, you will come into such a profoundly different life than you ever could have possibly imagined.
Yeah.
Because in hindsight, now I realize too, like with the anxiety that I had, there's no way I thought I would be living this life. Like the idea of me or anybody living a life of luxury or something like that, no way. It's just like it's not possible because that just wasn't in my awareness. But
Yeah.
as you change the awareness and you allow yourself to change your ego self, your physical self, to change to the higher self, uh, that is where the change comes from. Because one thing I'm starting to really wrap my mind around too is it's like we only bring forth relationships, money, good food, whatever it is, through ourselves. So it's like if you are looking for more money, like you have to see yourself as money. If you want love, you have to love yourself. If you want good food, make good food for yourself and only know that you're gonna get good food. It's like you really are the first cause substance to everything you experience in your life. And when you actually challenge yourself and not just scroll past TikToks and Instagram videos talking about the stuff and say, oh no, that's just a bunch of bullshit. It's like actually try it. Like
Yeah.
actually give yourself to the process. Like truly give yourself to the process. And a lot of the things that don't make sense to you will in an instant will start making sense to you because you will start to see your thoughts turning into things. You will start to see your reactions being recreated moment after moment after moment. It might appear different, but it's the same exact situation. It's the same energy. It is the same manifestation over and over and over and over and over again. You
Yeah.
just have to be willing to focus and
Yes.
challenge yourself a little bit. As taxing as that is, you might live an amazing life. You might live a life of luxury, but you don't want that. I guess you don't want that.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
crazy
Like it's
thing.
your choice. You can choose
Mm-hmm.
heaven on earth or you can choose to live in hell. That's just the truth of it all. Like
Yeah.
you literally have the choice every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is just so powerful to recognize because again, that was how I broke free of this just constant state of being of anxiety, like
Mm-hmm.
24/7, constantly
Unbelievable.
choosing. Yeah, constantly choosing to think worst case scenario, choosing to doubt myself, choosing to mistrust,
Mm-hmm.
choosing to just like be in this constant state of fear. I was choosing to
Yeah.
live through the lens of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And when we choose to live through the lens of fear, we're not with love. We're
Mm-hmm.
like separate from love, right? And in order to come back to just this lens of love and being embodied in love, we have to transmute the fear
Yeah.
with the love and start to,
Yeah.
because love literally transmutes all of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about earlier with all of these, lower vibration emotions, we, in order to truly, like they are our compass, what we need to
Mm-hmm.
face, because it is easy to also just want to run and escape, right? And that's also, this conversation can definitely maybe be taken that way as well, like bypassing, which is definitely not
Mm-hmm.
the case, like what we're talking about here, because it is important to actually like feel your
Yeah.
emotions and feelings, right? And anxiety is a human emotion. Um, However, living addicted to emotions and in that constant state of being where you're identified with this emotion, that's what we're talking about in the sense of it literally feeling like it controls your whole entire life and
Yeah.
it being your complete state of being. That's when, the identity and the addiction literally to this emotion
Mm-hmm.
um needs to be transmuted. It needs to be, that is your compass as to like where you need to go, what you need to face, what is the root of it all, what parts of you need love, and
Yeah.
pouring that love into it. And that's how the alchemization process happens, is when we bring love to these lower vibration
Yeah.
emotions that are attached to these memories that our
Yeah.
body is just repeating, and we feel like we're in this constant state of fear, right? And yeah, I think it's normalized too. It's a normalized thing to be fearful. It's a normalized thing to have anxiety. It's a normalized thing to be like even depressed. Like it's just, oh, yep, that's just, she just has
Go take it.
anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just go take your pills, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you have the choice. Like you do, and that this might trigger somebody. And
Hopefully it doesn't.
yeah, to be honest, like just listen to that trigger, like go past that trigger and let it be your compass as to like what you need to face. Because a lot of the
Yeah.
time when we're triggered as well, we'd rather just defend, react,
Hmm.
whatever. And that's us trying to stay in the familiar identity. It's trying to
Yeah.
keep us the same. It's trying to protect that identity of, no, I have anxiety. What are you talking about? I have to
Hmm.
stay here. This is who I am. There's
Yeah.
no changing that, right? It's
Mm-mm.
that like defense, right?
Yeah. All or nothing at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
let it go. Let that identity go. And I promise you, when you make the choice that you don't want it anymore, that will change everything. When
Mm.
you start to rewrite your story, you start to
Yeah.
rewrite your narrative, and you start to choose again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so profound. Like you really do have the ability to recreate your story. And then like this is like another conversation for another time because they could lead into like another 3 hour conversation. But like I feel like time is what keeps people enslaved too. Everything we
Oh,
do is
yeah.
based in linear time.
Mm,
There is no time outside of the physical world.
yeah.
And most of our ourselves are not in the physical realm. It is outside of the physical realm. So in terms of anxiety, it's like we, or maybe yourself, is like you're perceiving yourself as in a set of time where um you can only move past anxiety through a certain period of time. But that idea in that specific period of time is what keeps you from actually transcending that period of time, because
Mm,
you think that you need to do X, Y, and Z for X amount of time in order to
yeah.
transcend it. Like you need to do this program for 3 months and then you'll have no anxiety. But it's like, no, when you remove all time, you have to get rid of it, because when you remove all time, there is only the eternal now. And
Mhm.
at every single moment of time, that anything that happens, it is in the eternal now. Like there is no time outside of the eternal now. So I understand that might be a little confusing as it was for me, but the more you break down the concept of time and allow yourself to play with the idea of the eternal now and only having a present moment, you'll realize that all things happen in an instant, and it's not a matter of time. It simply happened at this present moment, because there is no other time. It is the present moment. So when it comes to anxiety and being able to overcome it, is you have to let go of time, because you can, if you think you have to do X amount of things for X amount of time, that's what's going to keep you enslaved. So instead, start to see yourself as heal and hold now in this present moment. See yourself as loved in this present moment. That there is no need to go see a therapist. But now, again, I'm not saying for people to go and not see their therapist. I'm saying theoretically, you have the potential and the ability to say enough is enough. Right now, I am whole and I am healed. I am done with the anxiety. I am done with the fear, because I choose right now to change my physiology of my body, or the biochemistry of my body. It's like I am not powerful to change, because right now the only moment that exists is the eternal now. All things happen in the eternal now, and in that I get to change my anxiety and turn it into bliss.
Mm,
That was the biggest thing for me, for my personal anxiety growing up. I had to get rid of time, because the idea of time, like I've been saying, is what kept me enslaved. Because I thought I needed to do this. I thought I needed to do a course. I thought I needed to go travel. I thought I needed to do so many different things. And all of those things kept me in this long duration of time where maybe in 10 years I'd be anxiety free. Maybe in 15 years I'd be anxiety free. Maybe in 20 years I'll be anxiety free. Because unfortunately, if I look at my parents, they're still anxious. So it's like maybe I'll be 55 and still anxious. But
Yeah.
that entire time is what kept me from actually transcending the anxiety. And then I realized that this is the trap of time.
Yeah.
And then all things happen in the present moment. No more anxiety, which I
Mhm.
again is way easier said than done.
Mm.
But then that's the paradox. It is that easy. It just takes time to process through things and realize different perspectives and to challenge yourself and to apply the things we've been talking about. And then you will come to that point where you realize there is no time. I can transcend this right now.
Yeah.
Because it's the same for you, it's the same for me. You ask any person with a fear driven life, any successful person, they remember the same moment where they said, I'm done. Every single person has the same exact story.
Yeah.
Literally across the board. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone said, I am done with this. I am living
Yeah.
the life that I want to live. And it was
Choose
because they
me again.
transcended time and they said,
Yeah.
I will not be a slave to time. I am more powerful than
Mm.
time itself. And they literally brought forth that version of themselves into that eternal now. And they
Mm.
were able to recreate themselves. So that was like, that's been so big for me lately, is to just remove time. Like
Yeah.
time is a distraction. Time at the same time is our friend. It is our complement to our lives, but it is not meant to enslave us to our perceived limitations.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I believe that we can be enslaved to anything that we kind of
Mhm,
put this heavy emphasis on, right?
mhm,
And like you said, it can be beneficial in some aspects, but then when we take it too far and we start to just hyper fixate on it and all of these things and and also put things on a pedestal, that's when we become enslaved to it, right?
mhm,
And also anxiety is just that, is being like fearful or mistrusting of the future and hyper fixating on the future,
yeah,
or stuck in the past,
yeah,
just reliving the past, right? So it's like that's literally what anxiety is based on, is being stuck out of the now, which is all that actually exists, is the now. So when you bring yourself to the
crazy.
now and recognize that's all that exists, like you said, you transcend
Mhm,
time, you literally your anxiety doesn't exist. Why, like, meditation and being mindful, being intentional helps so much with anxiety, because that's what it's focused on, is bringing yourself back to the now in this present moment and
mhm,
grounding yourself and centering yourself. And so that's why these tools are also so helpful, is because that's
mhm,
what it's based around, is becoming no time, no thing, no body, just
mhm.
being.
It's funny
And
you say that.
yeah.
Like nothing, no, like one of my clients that I worked with in our meditations, I always said, "You are nowhere, you are nothing, you are nobody." So
Yeah.
like the intention that I had was to help him separate from the 3D and realize like in the grand scheme of things, your work is not that serious. Like the jokes, because he was having problems with people taking his jokes too seriously or whatever, like a weird personal issue that he had, which is like understandable because we all have our own personal things that we work on. It's like helping him to remove himself from that and not hyper focus, like you were saying, and not make it bigger than it needs to be. Like
Hmm.
that really helped him. It's just like getting rid of the idea of
Yeah.
being anything or anywhere. It's like in the grand scheme of things, like where are we? It's like we're not actually anywhere. Which I
Yeah.
know, like I understand in the hindsight, like some people listening to it are gonna be like, what are you even
Yeah.
saying, bro?
Honestly, half of this conversation is gonna be like a small percentage of people actually understanding what we're saying. That's
Yeah,
okay. That's okay.
yeah,
Just
it's all
take
right.
what you can get from this
Yeah,
conversation.
or maybe whoever's watching this is exactly who it's meant to be for. So
Exactly. I agree.
they'll receive something from it.
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And
Always.
yeah, overall, where you put your energy and attention expands. And
Hmm.
that's the basis of it all. And the fact that you can choose again, you can choose, you can have, like, you have the decision right this freaking second. How cool is that to choose
Hmm.
again? You can
So powerful.
choose to not suffer anymore. You can choose
Yeah.
to live the life you want. You just have to decide. And then once you
Hmm.
decide, it'll all work out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, I think that for me and just this deep knowing, because there's also there's a difference between something becoming, and that is what's so beautiful about our ego as well. Like you were talking about earlier, our ego is also our friend in the sense of that's how we create our truth. That's how we create our identity. That's how we create our habits. That's how we create our, perception essentially, right?
Yeah.
Because we start to create and just recreate everything over and over and over again. And this can be beneficial when we start to tap into these higher vibration, states of being, and we start to live our life. Like you were saying earlier, with you not taking, like, you're not going to let anything get in your way now, because now you
Hmm.
have that as your familiar way of being, which
Exactly.
is, yeah, that's your
Yeah.
ego benefiting
Yeah.
you, right? That's your ego
Yeah.
stepping in and being like, nope,
I think that's
yep.
what I was gonna say earlier. Actually, now that you brought that up, it's like that's actually what I was gonna say. Is like we are meant. Our
Yeah.
ego is meant to complement ourselves. Like
Yeah.
our egos are designed to. I mean, it always complements us. So why not make your ego complement your highest good at the end of the
Mhm.
day? Like why not make it serve you and what you truly want from life,
Yeah.
rather than it's
Mhm.
serving everything you don't want from life. It's like if you
Mm.
can learn how to train your ego through various processes and information and like look up Joe Dispenza, look up Neville Goddard, look up Abraham Hicks, like look up these people, and that
Mhm.
will give you a deeper understanding of this conversation and what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, but like you have to be willing to train your mind and train your ego to serve you rather
Yeah.
than it
Being
serving itself. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the key right there. Because before, like we were talking about earlier as well, you are not like, this isn't just your prison. Like, you're not in prison to your mind. You're not the servant of your mind, right?
Hmm.
You can rise up and recognize, wait a second, I don't have to
I'm in
be
charge of
stuck
you.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I don't have to listen to every single thought and act on it. I can just observe. Is
Hmm.
this what I want to place on the conveyor belt for my next moment? Is this what
Hmm.
I want to place on my, 'cause there's like a conveyor belt, right? For like each moment, right? It's like
Hmm.
we have a thought, we place it on our conveyor belt and then react. That's just how it works.
Right.
Or we could say, do I want to place this on my conveyor belt? Nah.
No.
I'm
No,
going to
I'm
choose
not that.
again. I'm going to place
Yeah.
this on my conveyor belt. And then there we go. And it's
Yeah.
just this process over and over again. And that's what becoming conscious of your unconscious is all about, because most of it is just, okay, 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 like not
Yeah.
even thinking about
Look
it. And then we
out
just act.
again. Amen.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
it's
just like
crazy.
we're just stuck. We're stuck in the pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just the way my life is. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like,
At
no.
this, no, it's like at this point, it's like we like things need to change because like it is craziness. It is
Yeah.
absolute like insanity. Like when I and this isn't to make anyone feel bad, not in the slightest. It's like if anything, it's meant to motivate you because like there is such a profound life for people in life right now that are living lives that you cannot fathom. If they can do it, you can do it too, my friend. Like there is no difference between you or them. There is fundamentally no difference whatsoever. The only difference is your perception of thinking and how you
Yeah.
choose to think. So it's like be
Yeah.
willing to push your boundaries, be willing to push the anxiety and actually like walk into the anxiety, like go into the flames, go into the battle, go into the deep ends and see like you will discover something. Like it's always like in movies when they make like someone is going through some serious like shadow work situation or event where they like jump into a fire that they think they're going to die, but it turns into like a portal to like heaven or something. I don't know. But it's the same situation for all of us. It's like what you think is going to kill you is what's going to save you, because
Yeah.
that's the polarity of life, is the
Mhm.
anxiety that you think is riddling your life of fear. It's actually, it is a sign that there is safety on the other side. You have to be willing to confront it and accept it for the possibility that it is, because through that acceptance there's a lesson, and the lesson
Mhm.
is that there's another reality for you.
Yeah.
One that reflects what you want, what's good for you in it. And like the insanity that I see nowadays is people are so afraid of life. They are
Mm.
so afraid, so unbelievably afraid, and it is such a shame, because the world is not meant to be full of fear, but meant to be filled with excitement and
Excitement.
ease and satisfaction and love. But not to get like conspiracy or whatever, but there are potential forces trying to navigate our minds into a world of fear.
Yep.
And the more power that they have, the more the collective shifts to fear. And the more the collective mind shifts into fear, the easier it is for humans to fall into fear.
Mm.
So for anyone who listens, it's like, be willing to be the light for the greater good of humanity, because what
Yeah.
happens in your mind is happening in all of our minds, which
Yeah.
is a very deep conversation to have, I understand, but
Yeah.
it is very apparent in today's science and research. It's like there's research to prove this stuff now. There's more than enough research to prove that there's a collective mind, and what happens in one person is what is happening to other people.
Yeah.
There's not much you can really say to argue against it at this point. You know, for a long time, even in my own situation of like preaching this stuff, I still doubted it, which is ironic because I just wasn't confident in who I am and in the things that I researched. But I ultimately realized like the evidence is there. This isn't a problem of scientific research. It's just like a lack of self belief
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So it's allowing yourself to come into your own alignment and allow yourself to see the research that is now is that is out today. And when you pair those two things together, then it's almost impossible for you not to be living a life of freedom and excitement and love and just everything that you want. Like
Yeah.
that is our purpose, is to enjoy life, not to fear life.
Yeah, I agree. We're here to
Yeah.
live it, We're here to love, we're here to live, here to experience. And when we're living through the lens of fear, we're not actually living. And
Mm-hmm.
trust me, like I lived most of my life through the lens of fear and it fucking
Me
sucked.
too. It was, it was so
It
bad.
fucking sucked.
Oh.
Yeah. And
That's the
shifting
crazy thing too, though, is
to
like even in such sorry, it's just like even in such a short amount of time though,
yeah,
look at the difference in our lives.
yeah.
You know, it's like for whoever's listening, it's like life can change so fast.
It can. And
So
you aren't stuck.
you're
That
not.
belief that you're just stuck and this is just how you are and you're quote unquote broken, hell
Not true.
no. You
Not
are
true.
not. You have the
Hell no.
choice. And you can
Mm-hmm.
literally decide every single day, I'm going to live through the lens of love. And my last podcast episode was all about this. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, I know this was a pretty long episode, but whenever you have the time, definitely dive into
Definitely.
that one as well. And the difference, I really believe that like fear is just an illusion of the mind. It's a
Mm-hmm.
complete illusion and everything is love. It's just us remembering that
Mm-hmm.
over and over again. And we're just learning, we're literally life, God, universe, learning to love itself
Mm-hmm.
through all of these different vessels and expressions and forms. And, it's so cool. I literally had a conversation with God on the beach, like straight
Mm-hmm.
up. And like, God was just like, I just want you to love. I just want you to experience. I just want you to like, it was just like, just full knowing that that's why we're here. is to love.
Yeah.
And if we're not living, if we're not loving, if we're not experiencing, and we're just constantly in the state of fear and worry and like what's going to happen
Mhm.
next, because this is what, society has pushed us to believe is just the norm. And
Yeah.
it's not the norm. It's not why we're here.
No,
We're
it
here to
is really not.
trust. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
here
and
to
it's
trust,
like
we're here to love.
I had that similar experience lately, which is why I'm going to Spain because it's like God the whole time was like, dude, the only fear that exists is created from yourself, which
Yeah.
is it's the same as God, but which is like that's the beauty in the message I received is like you are the creator. So the
Mhm.
fear that you are feeling is your creation, not an external substance. So it's like if you want to be
Yeah.
fearful of this trip, you're going to be fearful. Like
Mhm.
be very mindful of what you choose to intend. And like that,
Mm.
those moments when you interact with God and have a clear like communication
Yeah.
where you just know like it is the source, like it is
Yeah.
the hive mind as I've been saying lately.
Yeah.
That is such a profound place to be because I realized like this has been full circle with the anxiety that I had is like okay, this is a new opportunity because my mom pointed this out the other day. I was the kid who would run to my mom's car after she left me for day camp, saying, "Please take me home." Or if I went to like a camp for like a week, I would cry for like a day straight, freaking out because I wanted to go home. So
Mm.
like the anxiety I had was so bad that I literally couldn't enjoy summer camps where all of the other kids were laughing and having the best time of their lives. But for me, I was miserable. I was in such fear mode. Like
Yeah.
in hindsight, I was literally in straight survival when I was at those places. So for now, it's like the complete opposite where I've fully surrendered to that message of God saying like you truly are in control. Like
Yeah.
you are the one who gets to create this trip. You're the one who manifested this trip and keep in mind like the most serendipitous turn of events I've ever experienced in my entire life just
Mm.
happened. So why in the world would I ever put any negativity in this when it's only been the opposite? Just
Yes.
ease, satisfaction, like
Mm.
literally everything I've been saying in my head for the past 6 months, just like ease and satisfaction, love, satisfaction. It's just easy, easy, easy. And then this opportunity comes, and everything that's been happening in my life, like the client that I'm working for right now, painting client, like easiest client I've ever worked with, paid me no problems, just like here you go, take the money. They're gone during the day. I get there or they come home and they're like, "Thank you so much for your hard work." Just like it's like the small things in life that really make a big difference. Where like if someone appreciates your work or not, and they see the work that I did and they're just very appreciative of it. So it's just like when you truly trust God and allow yourself to align with God and know that you're the one who creates everything in between.
Yeah.
That is such a beautiful life. It is such a
Yeah.
magical life. So it's like the
Yeah.
anxiety. The anxiety is not. There's more to life than just your anxiety.
I
So much
agree.
more.
Yeah. And also the separation from God, I feel like is very heavy in our world. And this
Mm-hmm.
like God is separate from us, right? Like it's almost this
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah,
But
energy
you
of like,
believe in the devil.
yeah, it's like,
Crazy.
yeah. So coming back to that too, just that truth and knowing that I am literally an extension of God. God is
Mm-hmm.
always with me, in me, all of it. Like God is literally
Mm-hmm.
everything, right? It's just this like undescribable peace that, is talked about in like, different religions and philosophies and things of that nature. It's talked about, but to actually experience it and know it is different. And that's kind of what I was
Mm-hmm.
getting at earlier as well. There's a difference between like a knowing and like a belief. And the
Mm-hmm.
sense of like a knowing is just like this full embodiment. And at first, when you're starting to shift these beliefs and your perspectives and things like that, it's going to become a belief. Like it's like a
Mhm.
belief that you're just subconsciously starting to act out in accordance to. But when you have a knowing, that's when you're embodying that truth. And that's when you really start to attract what you're desiring because
Yeah.
you're embodying it and you're radiating that frequency. And so
Mhm.
when you start to know God, meaning knowing yourself too, it's like hand in
Yeah.
hand, it's hand in hand.
Yeah.
When you start to get to know your true essence, yourself, your soul, love, you are literally naturally going to get to know God because
Mhm.
we're literally an extension of God.
Yeah.
And with that, and then getting to know God as well, actually, and feeling and surrendering and trusting. It's like they're the same, it's the same thing. It's the same
Yeah.
process. And yeah, your trust in yourself and life too, it doesn't just affect you. It does not
Mhm.
just affect you. It affects everyone around you. You're creating a ripple effect. You're affecting the collective by you just having this knowing and emitting this energy, and we're all interconnected. So it's affecting us in ways that we can't even see,
Yeah.
you know? And so just knowing that alone will give you so much purpose in choosing your peace, in choosing heaven on earth, in choosing love. Let that be your why, not only just for you, because when we go greater than ourself and we start to impact others' lives and being of service, that's also naturally what we want to do, is be of service and help others. Know that you helping yourself by choosing to not suffer anymore, that is bettering the entire world too. It may
It's
not feel
crazy,
that way, but
but it is.
it's true. Yeah.
Because the second you change yourself, this is the crazy thing about my story right now too, is my family has changed miraculously.
Yeah.
Like things you wouldn't expect from my family.
Mm.
Very dysfunctional family, like all over the place. Having adoption in our family was very, very crazy. Like
Mm.
people don't realize, like they think adoption is happy happy, but no. Just like very, very dysfunctional. We're good now. And the things that are changing are the opposite of that dysfunctional upbringing that it had. So to see and witness the change that is happening is so, like, it makes sense because the beliefs that I have now and just like the way I am. Like, of course, it makes perfect sense. But like the ego and the anxiety of part of myself is like, this is crazy. Like, what is actually happening? Like, think they're changing. Like, they're thinking different thoughts now. Whoa! Like, this is
Yeah.
crazy. And my brother, my oldest brother of all, like I've been watching him going through his own spiritual awakening the past 4 or 5 months. Completely different person, like
Mm.
in every way, shape, and form, or whatever the saying is. Like literally so different. And then my second oldest brother is now coming into kind of this phase where it's like the self exploration, like asking questions, like he's getting there. But even the fact that he's like asking the questions is like a sign that things are shifting. And then just everyone in my family, things are changing. So it's like when you change yourself, then the outside world changes. Because
Yeah.
this is the thing again, it always comes back to yourself. So
Yeah.
if you're willing to change yourself, change the way you see your family, the way you see friends, the way you see the government, the way you see everything, the way you see the
Yeah.
world will reflect to the way you see those things. So if you have a
Exactly.
bad family relationship, change the way you see them. If you have bad friends, change the way you see friends. If you have bad relationships, change the way you see relationships. If you have a bad issue with the government, stop thinking they're a bunch of crazy killers and whatever the conspiracies are, and you'll see differences. It's like
Yeah.
change the way you see everything
Mm.
from yourself, and through that, you will start to pick up the differences outside of yourself.
Exactly.
It is such a trip.
It's
Like
such a
it's so weird.
yeah, it is. We create our reality through our perception, through how
Yeah.
we see reality, how we view reality, what we believe, right? It's all
Mhm.
just a reflection. It's all a mirror. So let that
Mhm.
be your compass. When
Yes.
you
Yes.
see
Yes. Yes.
something, yeah, when you see something that maybe you quote unquote don't like, use that as information to go in and see what you don't like in yourself. Like use
And
that as
then
information.
boom.
Yeah, it's literally a portal. Like it's all just mirrors for you to go deeper in on yourself. And when you do that, it reflects into everything you do. And again, to circle back, it's kind of a full circle moment to like the first thing I was talking about, and how I was searching outside of me for this fulfillment, for these answers, for this peace, for this love, for this acceptance my whole life, through all of these different things, through eating disorders, trying to change my body, through men, through money, through all of these physical surface level things that never actually led me to feeling fulfilled because they were all outside of me.
Yeah.
And when I actually came back to the truth of like, whoa, I just need to love me. I just need to accept
Yeah,
me.
it's
I
like,
just need to know me. It's like literally
dang
everything
it.
shifted. And it's like,
Yeah.
I am the creator of all of this. I'm just creating all of this. And
Yeah.
that's it. Like that's
That's it.
it, And then like
Yeah.
from there, you just start to realize, okay, what do I want to create? Just deciding what you actually
Oof.
want and getting clear on what you actually want. And from there, when you make that
Yeah.
decision, it all works out. You're a
That is
co-creator.
oof, that is such a rush too. Like that feeling when you really get like that you're the creator of your reality. Like that rush that you get, there is no other feeling like that in the world. It's like
No,
nothing comes close to it because for the holy fuck, like I get to decide. Okay, what am I deciding then? And that's again like going back to my family, like my oldest brother. It's like watching him go through his own self discovery moment like that, and realizing he gets to create his reality. Like I got this, I got this man out of his 9 to 5 job and become self employed, where he's making more money than he's ever made before. So it's like watching him do that. It just makes me so motivated because like I always knew he had it in him. He just needed like that initial push,
yeah,
and because I was able to provide that space for him to get him into the field of self employment. It's like he realizes that now, and being like a third party observer of the situation just is like the feeling you get, like, and then watching other people get that feeling is even better
mm,
because you know exactly what that feeling like is because you're recreating it in that moment as you watch someone come to that realization, which was one of the things you wanted to create. So that's
yeah.
why I love coaching because it's like I get to watch people to realize that they create, and when they have that initial shift, it's like there's
Yeah,
nothing more satisfying to me than helping people remember the nature of their reality. It's like
literally.
I could do this forever.
It's life changing. It's like
Yeah.
actually life changing. And yeah, I like literally know. I have this knowing that that's like why I'm here too. Is to
Hmm.
help people view life the way they like through the lens of love, and starting to just embody love, because that is our natural way of being. That is our natural essence. So to come back to that and start to just see clearer, start to appreciate more, start to love more, open
Yeah.
your heart to life,
Open the heart. So funny.
like
Yeah, the
opening your
eyes.
heart, like literally, it's just like I've been there. Like that's why I'm so passionate about it. Like you said, it's like once you've experienced it and then you see somebody else also experience it, it's like
Hmm.
it makes it that much better. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's a cool experience to go through it yourself, but then you start to see it be a ripple effect, and it's like,
Mhm.
whoa, like this is so cool.
Yeah,
And
and I think like the other aspect too is like because you realize you're a ripple, and then from your initial ripple, it becomes an infinite ripple. So
yeah,
then you start to like question like, okay, do I really want to hurt this person, or do I want to like do something that's going to cause damage? Because you know your ripples are so significant. It's
yeah,
like your whole framework around people shift because it's like you only ever do the good things because you know those ripples will come back to you at the end.
yeah.
And it's such a weird and interesting sober trip to go down because like the more the more you start doing good, the more you receive good. And that's why another reason why I'm so interested in this trip that I'm going to. It's like I have no idea what to expect from this, and really at all. But I trust that the good I've
Yes.
sent out, it will come. There's literally there's no other reason for me to think that this trip is purely a gift from the divine.
Yeah.
Like after all of like the good intentions that I've had from people, is like this is the divine saying, "Good job, my son. Like you deserve this. Like this is a gift from us saying thank you for expressing the message that we've wanted people to receive for so long." So
Yeah.
I just like I know that what this is going to create in my life is going to be so profound that I don't know. There's just no words yet because I have to experience it.
Yeah. Well, I'm
But I know.
excited for you.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Me
I'm
too.
so excited for it. I can't wait to hear all about it. And yeah, it's just like you trust the unknown.
Mhm.
And that in itself, that's what I feel anxiety is also rooted in, is just not trusting that, not trusting the
Mhm.
unknown and always needing things in our control. And so releasing
Yeah.
that control and just being and allowing and surrendering is how we also let go of this anxiety grip on us, right? And like just the weight of anxiety, the ability to surrender and truly trust life itself and ourselves.
So much easier. So much,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much. Literally in every way, it's just like you can breathe. Like one thing I didn't realize is like people who are anxious can't feel their own heartbeat. It's like
Mm,
you can't even feel your own heartbeat. It's like when you're calm and relaxed and you can feel your own heartbeat for the first time in God knows how long. That is it's an emotional thing to hear from. Like my mom was the one who said that, and it was like to think that for the longest time she hasn't been able to feel her own heartbeat is like
mm,
it's emotional just because like it makes me sad. It's just like for the longest time you've been numb, and it
mm.
makes me think about all the other parents out there who haven't dealt with their trauma, who haven't dealt with the issues that they've been suppressing for so long, and they can't even feel their own heartbeat. But
Yeah.
that's a shame because like the experience of feeling your own heartbeat, like truly feeling what it is, like in the most sheer randomness of reality, the fact that we have a heart that beats and pumps life into us. It's like that you don't need psychedelics to experience something trippy. It's like just feel your own heartbeat. Like the fact that you have
Totally.
a beating heart that provides blood to your body. And blood in itself is also just like another crazy thing to think about. Just like the sheer existence that we have. Like that
Mm,
in itself almost is enough to be like, okay, I am purely based out of infinite nothingness and I am something. And because I come from nothing, then I literally turn thoughts that are nothing and I turn them into things through actions. It's like, what else do you need to know? It's like you create your reality. You create the anxiety. It's like you have the choice, like we've been saying throughout this podcast. It's like you have the choice.
mm.
What do
Yeah.
you choose?
Yeah. And just the fact, like you were saying, I mean, this is a whole probably another hour conversation we could go into, but
Yeah.
like the way our body and the earth and everything just like flows so optimally to keep us alive, and like our heart, like you were saying, our
Mm,
blood, our body, all of its like our organs, our entire being, the way it just like it everything it is, it's perfect. It works in perfect harmony. Of course, we can like, adopt illnesses and things of that nature, right?
it's still perfect though.
However, it's perfect to keep us
Hmm.
alive, to keep us thriving, and nature is the same way. It keeps going and keeping everything alive, and every like the amount of oxygen in the earth is like perfect to keep everything like everything's perfect. But we are
Hmm.
so just conditioned to focusing on what's not, like all of
Yeah.
these things that like maybe make it imperfect or whatever the case might be. We gravitate towards all of this like judgment and all of this stuff, and it's like when we just open our eyes and like literally focus in on these simple things that make life, that's what literally brings us back to the now. That's what
Yeah.
literally brings us out of anxiety and hyperfixation on all of these like things that are just so minute in the grand scheme of things too. I feel
Yeah.
like we become anxious due to just like zooming too close in on this like specific thing that in reality like doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? And then when
Mhm.
we zoom out and we see the bigger picture, it's like, whoa, wait. Like, what was I even like worried about?
Like,
You know what I mean?
why
Yeah.
would I be so silly?
Yeah. Like just zoom out, and the little tiny things, I really feel like they're little, but they're not. Like
Mhm.
they're what ground us into the now. It's how we can just recognize the fact that, again, we're here, we're alive, and that's
Mhm.
enough in itself. It's a miracle we're even here to think about all of the little intricate details of just like this experience, our body, the fact it's functioning, the fact we're breathing, the fact our heart's beating, the fact
Yeah.
nature just keeps going through all of these cycles throughout the year and keep us alive, and it's all perfect.
Yeah.
Like we have nothing to worry about, like honestly,
Mhm. No,
it's
no.
just, yeah, so
Yeah.
wild.
It is very wild, and it's just magical, and it's like you have to participate in life in order to understand the magic. You have to, if you want to understand the rules of the game, you have to ask.
Yeah,
Like you ask, you will. If you ask, you will receive. That's like
yeah.
the one thing I think people struggle with too is like they've received so much information with today's day and age. Like every single person listening to this, you have all the answers. You've heard every single way to overcome your anxiety. You
Mhm.
just need to apply. It's like
Yeah,
there is you have. It's not an issue of not knowing what you need to do. It's like there has never been a time in history where there has been more information at our fingertips than now. Like we know more than kings and queens knew hundreds of years ago. Like we're smarter than all of them. So the fact that you think that you don't have the information, the perfect piece of information, which is it's just not perfect is subjective. So it's like you already have your subjective perfectness with the knowledge that you have right now. The damn thing that you need to do is just apply the information.
yeah,
It's like just
literally.
apply. Like there are so many like entrepreneurial podcasts that people listen to. They listen to so much advice, but they just don't apply.
Don't
They don't
apply.
receive results. So many people listen to mental health podcasts, but they're still depressed as hell. You just don't apply. You have poor relationships in your life. You don't have a romantic life. You don't go out to the bar and say hello. You don't talk to the girl. You don't talk to the guy that you're interested in. You have to apply. It's like
Mm.
it when you I understand it's scary to do those things, and it's in hindsight it's crazy to me like thinking back to my journey. I've always told myself discomfort leads to comfort. So it's like you if you like this is coming from the kid who couldn't talk to a stranger, like thinking to start a conversation with somebody was like crazy, scary, and just like stuff like that. So to now it's like I realize you will only ever overcome the thing that you're anxious of by doing the thing that you're anxious of. So if you're afraid to ask somebody out, just go ask the person out. It's
Yeah,
like more or less there. And then the other part of this too is like realize that most people are afraid of you than you're afraid of them. Like they are not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves. So just go say hello. Go shout something that you want to shout. I don't know what it is that's holding you back. Just go do the thing that you've been wanting to do, and you'll realize that there's nothing to be afraid of.
yeah.
And it's all just like a mental perception that goes back to the imagination, which is that is another long conversation to have just because the imagination it is so deep because it's like your anxiety is rooted in your imagination. So you literally mentally concoct this intellectual cocktail that makes you think that you're going to have some sort of reaction or interaction. I mean, and then it never happens. But you think it is, your body thinks it's happening, but it never actually happens. So it's like, yeah, just challenge yourself, get out there.
Yeah.
I promise
Feel the
you're
fear,
going
do
to
it
be okay.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm literally
Yeah.
going to Spain after 16 days. It's like
I love
if
that.
I can do it, you can do
Yeah.
it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Truly.
When you every time you face your fear too, like you're strengthening your trust in the
Hmm.
unknown in life, in yourself, because on the other side of that fear is love. And almost always, every time we do something we're scared of, it's like, again, why was I scared of that?
Yeah,
It was like an
why?
illusion.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it was this illusion. We
yeah,
realized the illusion. And it's like when we just keep doing that over and over again and keep stepping out of our comfort zone, that's how we expand and grow and truly just like realize that a lot of these fears and anxieties and things of that nature, like they are illusions. They are illusions. They're not even actually like it is a creation of our imagination, like you were saying. And
yeah,
like we're able to see that clearer and let your fear also be your compass. Like let it be your compass as to where you need to go. Like you were saying,
hmm,
like just face your fear. I know it's like a cliche thing, but it's freaking true. Like
it's very
face your
true.
freaking fear and
Yeah,
just face it head on and dive into it. Because on the other side of that is love.
yeah. That's
And
all there is.
yeah, yeah.
That's all
Yeah,
there
it
is.
has been like speaking of time, like completely just lost time in the conversation entirely. I don't even know how long it's been,
It's like
but
2 hours.
yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
that's good conversation then.
Uh, yeah, beautiful conversation. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you want to dive into or share or yeah,
I said,
touch on?
I think the last thing that I would say is just you are the first cause substance. It's like
Mm,
you are the first to everything that you experience in life. And if you like, you can try to refute that, you can try to argue against that, but you're just putting your again, you're putting your faith into a second cause substance, and you're just proving to yourself that you are the first cause substance, regardless. Like
mm,
there is no I am not. There is only I am. It's like you either are depressed or you're not. It's like there is no I am not depressed. Yes, you are depressed. You have to accept it, realize that you're the first cause substance. And through that, okay, I'm not depressed. And again, this is all easier said than done. And I understand you have to do the shadow work. I've done it for the past 4 years of my life. But even in this position now, it's like that doesn't change the fact that I understand you can change everything at a moment's notice, no
yeah.
matter how much baggage you have. It doesn't change the fact like we both understand this, even after all of the shadow work that we've done. We both know like everything happens in a moment's notice, and the fastest way to overcome healing is by already aligning yourself with the state of being healed, and that comes from seeing yourself as the first cause substance. And if you're biblical or religious or spiritual, that is God. Like that is Jesus Christ, that is Buddha, that is whatever it is that you worship. You are that. I grew up Christian, so my thing was Jesus. Jesus always said, "You will do better than I." So it's like when I hear those words, it's like if Jesus is saying that I will do better than He did, that must mean that He's not talking about Him as the Savior. It's His ways of life that creates the embodiment and energetic state of being that allows Him to do such things. And if He can accumulate that state of being, then so can I.
Mm,
That only comes from the first cause substance. So challenge yourself to stop putting putting control and power outside of yourself. And when you allow yourself to return to your true nature as the first cause substance, as Christ, as Buddha, as Source, whatever you want to call it, you will experience tremendous differences in your life. You will experience happiness. You will experience love. You will experience joy. You will experience all the things that you've been wanting for so long. And then it does not matter your age. Age is irrelevant. Age is just a number that does not exist.
yeah.
Like I don't care how old you are. It does not matter how old you are. It is never too late to restart and shift into a new timeline. So don't be afraid to start something if you're older or if you're super young. You're in a better position because you have more time. You have more physical time amongst yourself. So just take the opportunity to retrain your mind and remember your true nature so that you can live the life that you truly want to live for the rest of your life and not have to deal with the normal life of suffering, so to speak. So you
Yeah.
are the first God substance.
I love that. Yeah.
Like,
I love it. I love it. And in other words, you're the creator of your life, right?
yeah,
And yeah, it's so true. Like we just have to remember that. It's also not something outside of you. It's just
yeah,
something you're remembering. Like that's it. We're just
hmm,
remembering love. We're remembering who we are. We're remembering our power. We're remembering creation
hmm,
itself.
yeah.
And wow. Yeah. This is a beautiful conversation. I honestly feel like I'm floating now. Just like so much, yeah.
I
So much
love it.
goodness.
Time to integrate.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, this is a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for being
of course.
here. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, this was so great. If anybody has any questions ever, I'll drop both of our Instagrams in the little description. And yeah, feel free to reach out to either of us anytime for anything. And yeah, it was so great to talk to you again and catch
It
up.
was.
And I hope you have the best time in Spain ever.
I
So
will. I
excited
will. I
for
will.
you.
Thank you for having me on, Maya. I appreciate it.
Yes. All right. Well, I'll talk to everybody later and you have a great night. Okay.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.